Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Album Fight Club. As always, I'm your host, Mike Kane. I'm here with my co-host, Cody. Cody, how you been?
Mike, I've been living my best life. How are you, Mike?
I'm good. I'd like to think I'm living my best life as well, but, life is hard sometimes, but we do what we can. And, what's funny is I think the artist we're talking about today likes to talk about how life can be hard sometimes, laborious. Sometimes it doesn't go your way. So, Cody, this pick was very much your own, so I'm going to have you introduce it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about the boss, Bruce Springsteen, and the E Street Band, and in my opinion, two of his best albums. Now, that is Born to Run and Darkness on the Edge of Town. And so, there is a very specific reason that I chose these two records. Now, Mike, before I go into this reasoning, is there anything that you would like to say about these two albums?
Sure. For preamble's sake, I am actually not a huge Bruce Springsteen fan, not because I think he's bad, just because I just haven't immersed myself in his music before. Obviously, I know the big radio hits, the ones you hear on classic rock radio here and there. But as far as these two records are concerned, I've never listened to either one. Again, I've known like a song or here or there on both, but like never really dived fully into them. So this was much a learning experience for me. Not so much you, I'm sure. I'm sure you're very familiar with these records. For me, having no familiarity with these, Cody, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe this goes into, maybe I'm cutting you off on your preamble bit, but I believe you told me last weekend that one of these, at least to you, was much better than another.
Yes.
I'm inclined to agree. And we're coming at this from somebody who's very well versed in this and somebody who's very much not well versed in it. And before even getting to the conversation, I think we're in agreement here that one of these is better. I'm going to be really surprised if you think differently. Like if the record I think is better is different than the one that you think is better. I think just being somebody who's not a huge Bruce Springsteen fan, and again, has not really immersed himself in these records, I think one of them is just clearly better. But of course, that's what we're here to talk about.
Yes, that is the Indeed Album Fight Club. Now, the little preamble that I have is I want to set the stage here for how important Born to Run and Darkness on the Edge of Town are. So, the year's like 1975, right? Bruce Springsteen, he has a record deal with Columbia. Him and the E Street Band releases two records. So, he releases Greetings from Asbury Park, and then he releases The Young, The Wild, the E Street Band. I believe that's the second record. Both of them are critical darlings. Neither of them are commercial successes. Neither of them make a splash. So Columbia, reaches out to Springsteen and is like, this third record has to be it, dude. Has to be the heater. And so, with all of this pressure to succeed on his back, Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band write and record Born to Run, which becomes a massive success. Now, as we're about to talk about, there are songs on Born to Run that are American staples. I think a lot of this record really, really defines the idea of American songwriting, everything that comes after it. And so, off of the success of Born to Run, Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band then spend 3 years on the road grinding it out, going from, we're playing the Stone Pony in Asbury Park to, oh, wow, we're at Madison Square Garden for 2 days, really, really big band. We're playing the Hammerstein Ballroom. We're doing, UK, Asia, we're playing the Budokan. And so all of the life experience that you receive from being a 25-year-old man over 3 years of hard, heavy life experience then comes into Darkness on the Edge of Town. The reason that I chose these two is because until you get to Born in the USA, the actual record itself, these are Springsteen's standout albums. Because both of them are very similar, same group of players, same band, same people recording the music to the best of my knowledge, and same people working on the record. Both really, really heavy drive to succeed, drive to get out of your town. Like Mike said earlier, Springsteen is sometimes kind of mocked because he writes a lot of songs about the American struggle, I think. And so I chose these two because in my opinion, they're the best showcases of Springsteen going from somebody who was about to be a superstar into absolute superstardom, pop culture icon. And now, about 10 years after this, he would release Born in the USA, and then that's sending him into, legacy, legend status. But so, Mike, before we actually get into a conversation about the two records, how do you feel about Born to Run as a full album?
Well, when you say getting into the conversation fully, is this like the preamble to talking about Born to Run? Because for the sake of the audience, what we're going to do here is not a track by track. We're just going to do the sort of thing we've been doing this season a lot, which is just talking about one record fully, then going to the other one, and then at the end talking about them together. If we're starting that now, Born to Run to me, see, I didn't want to spoil it offhandedly, but Born to Run to me is just better in every way.
You're out of your...
What? You think that... Oh,
here we go. This is it. Oh, this is what I wanted.
Cody, how could you possibly think that?
Okay.
Okay. Wow. I was like, there's no way he thinks that Darkness is better than Born to Run. But what's interesting here, like I said, is that you're the guy who's been like behind these records for a long time. I'm the guy who's been listening to these things for the last like 3 weeks. And like, that's my first experience with both of these. So, wow, this is very interesting. Okay. I don't even know what to say now. But okay, Born to Run, having not heard both of these, to me, listening through them, going from top to bottom, I think Born to Run sounds better, feels better, is more cohesive. It feels more unified. I'm deigned to think that this is actually a concept album. And the light research that I did, all that I found was that all the songs thematically are cohesive and that they're talking about American people struggling in different situations. But halfway through this thing, by the time I got to like Meeting Across the River, I was like, is this a concept album? Because like it feels like one cohesive story. To me, that's what makes this record really great and makes it really shine. I think as far as blue collar Americana music goes, this is like heaps and leaps and bounds better than what Darkness is trying to do. Not that Darkness isn't good, but like what I see as Bruce Springsteen and what his best is and what he is like really trying to do with his music, I think Born to Run is the record, to me at least, that's like excelling at that. But clearly that's not the... Well, why don't you talk about Born to Run before we jump into it, like the individual tracks?
So, first off, I want to say I was really hoping this was what was going to happen. Because in my opinion, Darkness on the Edge of Town absolutely trumps Born to Run almost in every way except for one. And I will give it that one whenever we get to the point
Okay.
of that.
I think I know what that one is.
Yeah. And so Darkness on the Edge of Town, almost kind of to bounce off of what you said about Born to Run, it feels like a concept record to me. Because you have songs that are way more specific, like Candy's Room and things like that, where it's like you're really putting a lot of personality into these one-off characters. Now, that is to say, we're going to go ahead and talk about Born to Run as a record. I think from a fan of art standpoint, nobody has discussed the American experience better than Bruce Springsteen on these two records. And I think the true American experience is discussed almost perfectly on Born to Run. So, I mean, even starting off with Thunder Road, Thunder Road itself is an absolutely unbelievable song. Right, Mike?
Yeah. I mean, one thing I want to say from the jump, and I think every track on both records really does this well, is that, Bruce Springsteen as a vocalist, great. Guitar, drum, bass, I don't know every individual member's name, obviously, but they're all doing their chops well. But the things that really make me love a lot of these songs is everybody else. It's the sax player, it's the harmonica player, it's the piano player, it's the trumpet player, it's everybody that's not in your standard rock band, right? Because this thing opens with the harmonica and the pianos, and immediately you're just like, okay, these guys are like, who are these people, right? You know Bruce Springsteen because the band is named after him, right? But like,
Yeah.
I'm not. There's, the bass player in this band is great. The guitar player is great. There's a lot of good guitar solos here, but I'm not like going like, oh man, who's that? Right? I'm not going like, oh my god, is that Jimi Hendrix or something? Like, but when I hear the pianos throughout this record, I'm like, who is that? Like, who is that piano player? Who is that sax player? And I know his sax player was like pretty famous, right?
His name is Clarence.
Yeah. So
Clarence, yeah.
But I think it's really interesting and really great on Bruce Springsteen's part that like he had a band, like a big band, although he didn't have a big band, but he had like a big band, and he like gave them all their due, gave them all their flowers. And Thunder Road is a great example of that. I mean, even Bruce himself on this song, his singing is great. It's clear. He can get gritty sometimes with his voice. Not on Thunder Road, right? He makes it clear from the jump. It is very much Bruce Springsteen, right? It's very much him. But I mean, we'll get to songs where like he has that like grit, that grime that I think also works well in his favor. And the best part for me is the outro, right? Where you get that drum fill, the doom, and just like they sail out from the dock and go out into the bay on their like instrumental ride high, and it's fantastic. Everyone kills it on this song, including the drummer, the bass player, the guitar player. But like, really, those ancillary instruments like the harmonica and the piano, they're the ones that really sell this song for me.
So I didn't know if you know this through your light research of members and things like that. The drummer in Bruce Springsteen's band is Max Weinberg. He's the father of Jay Weinberg, who played drums in Slipknot.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really crazy to think of a lineage of playing on this record, and then 40 years down the road, All Hope Is Gone comes out. It's like, oh, that's the same bloodline.
Yeah. Interesting.
Really fantastic
delineation for sure.
Yeah. Thunder Road, in my opinion, is absolutely one of the greatest album openers of all time. But from the almost hindsight, or I suppose foresight, really depending on how you view it, of knowing what Bruce Springsteen is about to talk about on this record, right? And Mike, like what you're saying, it is absolutely impressive that he allows everybody in the band. He writes the songs for the band, not for Bruce Springsteen to excel, but for your harmonicas, for your saxes, for your drums, for your bass, everything. The organs that come in, they're always just there. They're just there enough to where whenever you start to have these really big pushes, and Bruce Springsteen and his band they're masters at creating this tension. You can feel it. It's starting to boil over in a way where it's like, okay, yeah, we're about to get something really cool, about to get a fantastic crescendo, but they'll ride it. And that's something that happens really, really well on Thunder Road. Because, once you get to the end of that song with the horns and that cool drum fill you're talking about, it's money.
Yep.
That could have been the best song on the record, and it's song 1. And we're not even at, we like getting the song 2, 10th Avenue Freeze Out. I mean, you want to talk about a showcase of band dynamics.
Yep.
You have those wonderful horns coming in, and that melody, that's $1 million melody.
This song is complete swagger, dude. It's like
it's
straight.
It's game over.
It's straight Bourbon Street vibes. Like I'm walking down, there's like the band on the corner just playing it, and this is what I'm walking to is what they're playing. It's just like so much fun, such great vibes, just perfect chorus. Like, and to go from track 1 to this, it's like, okay, if we keep this momentum, I'm like all for this record. And again, not to spoil it, but throughout most of this record, they keep that momentum for me.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. A lot of this record. So Mike, let's get a little personal here. You grew up in Ohio.
Yes.
You grew up in Cincinnati, right?
Yes. Right outside of Cincinnati, but technically Cincinnati.
Okay. Was it a working town? Was it like steel mills and coal mines and things like that?
No. I mean, we were right there in Kentucky, which is very much coal mines and steel mills and very much blue collar work. But Cincinnati was more modern in nature, right? A lot of white collar, right? I would consider white collar over blue collar.
I gotcha. So a lot of this record, I grew up outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in a little city called Uniontown. A lot of this record feels like Uniontown, and it really excels on darkness. where it's just people who are right above making it by. It's like they probably have a mortgage, money's tight all the time. So once we get to songs like 10th Avenue Freeze Out, those are moments to me when I close my eyes, dude, I feel like I'm sitting in the back of like my uncle's 67 Mustang convertible,
Mm-hmm.
You close your eyes and you can just feel the wind in your hair. And you absolutely know that the next like 5 or so minutes, just pure vibes. Now, what I really love about 10th Avenue Freeze Out in particular, the way the horns lock in with the drums, but it is at the end when everybody is singing and kind of like barking, 10th Avenue Freeze Out. It's such a good vibe, and you can really, really tell, even just from these first 2 songs, that this is a group of people who needed it to succeed. Put all their heads together and said, let's make this a monster, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, what? Track 3, dude? You get to Night? I mean...
Well, here's the thing. Good performances, once again, right? Nobody's like punching lower than what they have to be punching, right? Everyone's punching above their weight. So like, great. It's got good propulsion. It's got good, it's a good song, right? But it hasn't quite wowed me. This is a moment where I get to track 3 and I'm like, okay, it's good, right? We had to like slow down a little bit in terms of the momentum, but it's not one of my favorite moments. But even besides that, it's still good stuff. Like, this is not bad. This is not even mediocre. This is good. This is good track stuff. But when you follow it up after 10th Avenue and Thunder Road, it's like, you can't quite hit 10 out of 10 like frequently as much as you do, but it's still good. I still like it.
So what I like about the song Night itself, this is, in my opinion, the section of the record where Springsteen lyrically starts to open up. I think you really start to notice what he's writing about. And for a lot of the notes that I have on both of these records, I've pulled sections of lyrics that I really, really liked because, like we said earlier, and kind of comically, Bruce Springsteen in his later years gets kind of regarded as like this weird faux working man. He's writing songs for the coal miners and the iron workers, and it's like, no, Bruce Springsteen, you're doing 5 nights at Wembley Arena, So reading these lyrics that he wrote when he was a working man, someone who was struggling to make that success, this section of Night really inspired me. And it's essentially part of the second verse. And you're in love with all the wonder it brings, and every muscle in your body sings as the highway ignites. You work 9 to 5, and somehow you survive until the night. Hell all day, they're busting you up on the outside, but tonight you're going to break on through to the inside, and it'll be right, it'll be right, it'll be here tonight. And I know she'll be waiting there, and you'll find her somehow, I swear. Somewhere tonight you run, sad and free, until all you can see is night. That's lovely. That's a beautiful sentiment. If you removed that from Bruce Springsteen's song, you could slam that in the middle of any of Cormac McCarthy's work. Then it would fit.
I see why you like this so much.
Mm-hmm.
Cormac McCarthy. It always comes back.
You read The Road one time when you're 16, and the rest of your life you think about gunshots and empty fields. But, Mike, what locks it in is the horns at the end. Especially that hard cut they do, right? What is it? It's like that ba 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 ba, or however that ending section goes. Fantastic, because the rest of these songs have been fade outs. We are hard cutting song 3,
mm-hmm.
And I think it works really well because the next song, Mike, how do you feel about Backstreets?
So this is where it starts to bring in that Bruce Springsteen grit that I was talking about earlier, right? That chorus that he sings on this is like, it's like bottom of the throat guttural, like grit singing. And it works for me. I like it. I really love the piano. Once again, not that everybody else is not doing what they need to do, but the piano in particular on this song, I think, is really excelling. Really,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's fantastic. This song though, I do think you could shave off like a minute maybe a minute and a half, I think you'd be fine. I don't think it needs to be as long as it is, but it's not the kind of thing where I'm thinking like, oh, this song is shave off a minute because it's terrible, right? It's like shave off a minute because by, at the certain point, I just kind of get what's going on here. I get what they're going
Yeah.
for. But that's not to say that this stuff isn't great. Again, the gritty singing I love, the pianos I love, really all the performance here I love, but just a little bit too long.
What I really like about this song, like you said, that piano in the beginning, this feels like music written for people by people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't feel like they sat down and said, what's going to really propel commercially? They pulled something out of themselves and wrote a very, very lovely, lovely song. I mean, the guitar work on this song and a lot of this record, so melancholic, but it absolutely fits into that kind of like, man, we're gonna keep digging until we fail kind of vibe, like we're gonna have to make this work. But it's the way that the entire band comes around. I wrote a little analogy about this and it's, by the time they get to the song, it's not about the women or drinking, but it's about wandering the town you've lived in your whole life, the town where your father works in the coal mines and you're a mechanic, living a mile away from your family. You eat spaghetti on Thursdays with your mother, and you swing by the bingo hall on Saturday night at 6 p.m. to say hi to your grandmother. Life isn't easy, but it isn't as hard as people think. That's how this song in particular makes me feel. Which, do you have anything else you'd like to say about Backstreets?
I'm going to say no, because I want to get to the parts of the record. So the rest of the record from here on out, I don't know how you could possibly think Darkness is better. Like, these next 4 songs just completely kill anything on Darkness.
Yep. Okay. So, right. So I wrote that little anecdote about Backstreets, Mike, because you then swing into Born to Run.
The one song I'm very familiar with from this record.
An absolute, I mean, we do this thing now. It's like a bit where we give songs their flowers. This song, like, if this doesn't make you want to hit the open road with Savannah and Percy and sell everything you own and go to a no-name town and meet people and work in a factory for the rest of your life, then you are absolutely crazy. This is hope distilled, in my opinion. This is the sound of pure positivity and, knowing that you're going to wipe the sweat off of your forehead on Friday night. And when you get off, you're going to the local tavern and you're going to see your friends that you grew up with. Because that's just how life puts you there. And it's not bad. It's not great. Damn, dude. It's just such a perfect song,
And not only that, it's like a perfect radio song. Right? It's like the perfect length. It's got the perfect verse, chorus, bridge, verse, chorus thing. Like, and I love that he gives a saxophone solo with that in mind, right? It's a radio song. We don't need a guitar solo, right? Every radio song has a guitar solo on this classic rock station, but let the sax have a solo. And it's short. It's like maybe 15 seconds or 20 seconds, but at least it's something you don't often hear on classic rock radio. You've got 80 guitar solos you'll hear, but this one sax solo comes in and it's like, yes, absolutely cool, awesome, love it. It's a perfect radio song for sure. Like, when I think of Bruce Springsteen radio song, as far as these 2 records are concerned, can you possibly beat Born to Run?
Well, and even beyond that, you think about the music that was coming out at the time, and you've got people who were singing about, romance and things like that, maybe being downtrodden and like, with a girlfriend, your wife might be leaving you, or you really love your wife and things like this. But so rare for someone to come on the radio and go, we're just a bunch of misfits, man. That's it. What's the chorus? What's the end of the chorus? Tramps like us, baby, we're born to run. Yeah, man. Absolutely. And he's 26 at the time. That makes sense. All you want to do is escape. But to distill it so perfectly with such an edge where you almost start to feel sympathetic for this narrator, right? For this character. Because the song comes in And you can just tell, man, this is someone who like maybe they worked at a at a license plate factory and they got skipped over for a promotion. They come into work the next day and they're just pushing forward, and all they want to do is get out of that shithole fucking northern town, you know? And it's like, it's so hopeful. It's so hopeful. We're just gonna make it one day. But there's no defeat, you know? It's just we're gonna push until the wheels fall off. And then wherever we land is wherever we land. And I think very few songs in history have showcased that so well, let alone almost single-handedly pushed an artist and catapulted into superstardom, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't know the deep history like you do, but I can see how this record launched them. I didn't hear record 1 and 2, but hearing this one, it's like, okay, yeah, like how could you not make it big after writing these songs on this record?
Yeah. And so it's crazy because this was the shit or get off the pot moment. Columbia Records was like, if this record doesn't succeed, we're done working with you. And, this is way pre-internet. This is 1975. So, like, it's either everybody puts their head together and gets into every single ounce of these songs and makes a masterpiece, or you're going back to playing as a bar band.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think Born to Run almost is that moment of, I have to make this happen now. My rent is due. I have taken the late payment. My rent is due. But it's in such a hopeful way of like, if we fail, we fail. But you know what? We put our all into it. And I think that's what makes this record, and in particular, this song so special. Because everybody has been, Mike, I mean, you're still young, but like you've been younger before,
Mm-hmm.
You've probably had a feeling of like, just absolute unreasonable push of positivity. Like, fuck it, dude. Got a flat tire 20 miles ago. I still probably got 5 miles before I have to pull over and change it. Like, I'm running on E. We'll get home. And I think that there's something timeless about it. The song is timeless. The sax solo is timeless. The guitar is timeless. The way that every single instrument pushes when he gets into that section, that is the chorus when he's like doing that. Whoa, that's so good.
Yeah.
And I just think that, man, even if everybody listens to this episode, they don't check out any of these songs, do one deep listen to Born to Run, because you're going to want to go do something cool,
Yeah, I cannot wait to hear you talk about Darkness, because it's just like, it's such a divide for me in terms of which record is just doing better. But we still have 3 songs to get through. So
yes. So then, Mike, how do you feel about She's the One, if you don't mind me asking?
Like I said earlier, there comes a point where everything before Born to Run. Do you have this on vinyl?
Yes.
I assume Born to Run is the opening of side 2.
Yes.
Okay, side 2 is fucking like A game for sure, because She's the One comes in, and those damn tinkling pianos, dude. Those pianos come in, and I'm like, I don't know what this song is, but I am here for it. And I love the way that Bruce is on top of it. I love that that's the thing. Like that's the spine of this song, is those like tinkling piano riff. It's amazing. And then the drums also add a lot to it. Yeah, I like, I really like what's being said here in terms of like, yeah, she's the one. Okay, we've heard that song hundreds of times, right? How many songs did the Beatles write where it's like, she's the one, right? But like, the way Bruce sings it, it sounds like a guy, you've spent all this time talking about like the ideology behind Bruce Springsteen. Like, it sounds like a dude saying this who is late on his rent payment, or he's got to get a new tire and he just doesn't quite have enough money for it, because then that means he's got to get less groceries or whatever. Like, it feels like that. It feels very deep Americana blue collar. She's the one, not dudes from Liverpool singing about love. She's the one. Right. And I really like that. And that damn piano, dude, like that thing just takes it to the stratosphere for me.
Yeah, this is complete opposite for me.
Wow. Okay.
This song starts off, in my opinion, it's interesting, but it doesn't go anywhere. And also too, you're riding the high of like yo, we just made enough money for the down payment on our house.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a nice house, but it's a house. We own house now. We're following the American dream. And then what comes next? This weird, like, is weird theremin. It's like that piano. And then the song to me just doesn't live up to the rest of the quality of music that's been happening before.
But not to cut you off, but the thing for me is that this is what made me feel like it was a concept record, right? Because you get Born to Run, which is this idea of like, let's get out of here, right? Screw this town. Let's just go. And you go with your girlfriend. You go with your fiance, right? You elope and go to, I don't know, the next town over, right? And so it's like Born to Run. We're getting out of here. Halfway through the drive, right? She's asleep in the passenger seat and it's like 2 a.m. at night and you just look over and then like it's that kind of thing. And then when we get to the next two songs, bro, it's over, right? It is unfathomably over, right? I don't even want to think about the second record when we get to these next two songs.
So, okay, here's my opinion on She's the One, because you sound really passionate about it. I respect your opinion. I dislike the song because it sounds like a late era Who song. You listen to that song and you go like, okay, this is 2 years before Eminence Front or whatever. I feel like, not Roger Waters, what's his name? The guy who sings for the Who.
I was going to say Pete Townsend, but that's the...
No, we'll call him Pete Townsend. Pete Townsend singing on this record. And like, it's just very, very weird. It's a good song, but I will admit, going from this, which in my opinion is a little bit of a dip,
sure,
into what, Meeting Across the River? Yo,
dude,
I will admit, when I broke this down with the song that it fits next to on Darkness. Mm-hmm. This is a wild song to have on this record.
What, is Factory the one that lines up with it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know. Yeah, dude, Meeting Across the River. That's a crazy song. You have Bruce Springsteen, the first, 6 songs before this?
Yeah.
Right?
Bro, like, the piano's on the last one, the trumpet, dude, on this.
Insane.
The trumpet just adds so much. Like, if you take the trumpet out, I don't think the song is near... Like, it's good. But what makes this song, like, amazing for me is that damn, like, mute... Like, that... The trumpet that's like 10 yards away trumpet. Right?
Yeah, it's in the next house.
Yeah, it's like, God, it's so goddamn good. And then like you combine it with the piano that's happening, and it's just like, it's sweet perfection. And the narrative in particular on this song, I really like. Like, this is the guy who's down on his luck and he can't get out of it, right? It's like, hey man, just help me out. Like, this will be the last time, I swear. And then like, it's not, dude. Like, you're gonna say you're gonna get better, and you never do, right? But like, but you're my friend, so I'm gonna help you out. It's like, it's fantastic, and for it to be like mellow noir, like it's not upbeat at all, but like neither is the subject matter. I think that's what makes it great.
Yeah, it almost reads like a Scorsese like script treatment. It sounds like because the narrative, at least to my understanding, at least how many times I've listened to it. It's a guy who's going to go do a drug deal, but that's because he has to like prove his wife or partner like wrong. Mm. He's like, I need money. She got upset that he says she got upset that I hawked the radio, but now I've got $2,000 in my pocket. And it's like, I totally respect that. Now, the crazy thing about this to me is that like almost all of the rest of this record has been this really kind of like, it's been, not upsetting, but you can understand how there would be like a melancholic feel to it. This is the first time you get to this record where it's like, whoa, this is really a concept to put to paper, And I will admit that trumpet in the background that carries the whole song. That's $1 million trumpet. Yeah. It's so good. I love that it's not too loud. It feels like it is the other voice conversating. Mm-hmm. It feels like it's the person who the narrator is asking the ride over $20 for, Yeah. 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 So
I don't even know how to introduce this next song.
Oh, I do, because I wrote something for it, because this was going to be one of those things where I listened to the song and then thought to myself, I'm going to talk about this for 20 minutes if I don't write a statement about this song. Mm-hmm. Very few artists deserve a 9-minute song to end their record, but this is one of those exceptions. Now, Mike, get this. You're 26 years old. Your dream is in tow. You've got a band. You've got a deal. Your first 2 records are critical darlings, but no huge hits. If your record label says, hey, man, this is it, or it isn't. So you go record this record, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get your whole life staring you right in the face. Your band, your money, the dream. Last record, light. Probably going to be your last attempt. End it big, and dude, this is it.
You know who else famously did something similar? Rush, 2112. They had a similar situation where the label went to them and said, you better give us something or you're done. And they're like, fine, fuck it. We'll do what we've always wanted to do. And then they totally knock it out of the park, and it's like one of their biggest records ever. This?
Crazy.
Jungle Land? Dude. How... Is this the greatest blue-collar anthem of all time?
I honestly, dude, maybe have to agree.
Like, you know, I don't know the whole extent of, like, Americana blue-collar music, but, like, this is the American experience distilled. Like, specifically blue-collar. I'm not talking, like, 401, 500, you know, Fortune 500 Americana. I'm talking, like, dude who lives in the 2-bedroom apartment Americana, like dude who struggles, make ends meet, barely makes his payment every month, but he does it, right? He gets by, like you said, he gets by, but just barely. This is that. It is from top to bottom amazing, right? I could talk about like every moment of it, you know, but all of it's great. Bruce is great, the band's great, the ancillary people are great, but what I really want to focus on, because I'm sure you have a lot to say as well, is that you can really break this song down into 3 parts, right?
Yes.
You got the opening bit. It sounds very much like Bruce Springsteen. It's like, okay, we're getting more of the same. But you get to that fucking middle part where it's just like the sax takes it to literally the heavens. And it's just takes it to some, and there's no vocals, right? It's not Bruce is nowhere to be found in that middle section, but like
this is giving your friend the football and they run it from the first yard to the other end zone. This is the greatest pass in music history.
It is,
in my opinion,
so good. Like it doesn't need words. That's how good it is. But you get all of it. It feels like I said, it feels like Americana distilled into music. It is so triumphant. Yeah. It's so hopeful. It's so loud. It's so huge. It's so beyond itself. But the beautiful thing about it is that it all comes down, and all that's left is just single strike pianos, like piano notes. Bro, it moved me to tears, dude. Like, this is so emotionally charged and driven. And then Bruce comes back in with his vocals, and it's so good, right? And it's just the piano at this point. We had everybody just now, and then we go to just Bruce and the piano. And he just carries it out to the end. Dude, it's perfect. It's literally perfect.
Well, and you know, the thing that got me about this song is he's 26. Everybody in his band is between 21 and like 28.
Yeah, it's impressive.
You're telling me you got that many people to record a bona fide masterpiece, a genuine perfect song, not once, twice. You pull this out 2 times on the same record, and it makes sense, right? Because you think about that. You think about being in that situation. That's essentially your landlord coming up to you and going, you've got 3 days or I'm going to evict you. We've had the conversation. I get it. You have a kid on the way. I get it. Your job just cut your hours. 72 hours. I need $1,300 or I'm going to have to kick you out. And you just make it happen. Mm-hmm. Dude, it's so unbelievably like you were saying earlier about the blue collar experience. Yes. Once again, I get it. You know, Springsteen, we get to the Cold War, right? And he becomes essentially like the spokesperson for America. He becomes the American darling. This is, I have spent 80 hours a week in a metal foundry. You know what? And my wife has a kid on the way. We have a credit card. It's over its limit. Our house doesn't have air conditioning, but I'm still going to get up and I'm still going to do it because I find the value in providing for my family. And for the last, 8 songs, dude, with the exception of She's the One, in my opinion, very, very few people have done a showcase of a whole group of people's experience. You know?
Yeah, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it right now. Like, I've never lived
Yeah.
anywhere other than America, so I don't know the experience
Mhm.
of like being French or being Spanish or being, I don't know, Mexican, whatever. But like being an American, I wonder how other people in other nationalities view this song. Like, I'm sure they like it, but like I feel, and this is going to sound terrible, but like I feel like you need to be American to like get this song. It is
Yes.
so American. It's so it. It is so that experience of being American and being like lower middle class to like perfection. And it's so much so that like after I heard Jungle Land, like once I got through with it, I was like, wow, like that, I can't believe I haven't heard this record before. Like Jungle Land, I don't think I've heard Jungle Land before this experience. And I was like, this has to be like his most lauded song, right? This has to be his like great, but like that, to hear that it's not, right? For the listeners, Cody just shook his head no. To hear that, I can't possibly show me the better song, right? Show me what topped this. And I will listen to it and I will give you a fair shake. But just from like not being very familiar with Bruce Springsteen, I am flabbergasted to think there is anything he did that's better than this.
And the beautiful thing, in my opinion, it's also so lyrically potent.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. This is a song from somebody who has lived that experience, you know? This is a song from somebody who probably lost a decent job and had to become a janitor for 2 months. Or somebody who, I know somebody, his name's Patrick. He just got fired from Epic Games. They just had that big layoff.
Yeah.
Yo, he's laying mulch with his cousin now. This is that feeling.
Yeah.
This is that. And it's so incredible to think about. This is the start of people recognizing your greatness. Because this wasn't you sitting in air conditioning, relaxing, not worrying about a boot on your neck. This is your record label holding your dream by the throat and saying, if you do not make this succeed, you will not get another shot. And Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band fucking did it. So, 3 years pass. Bruce Springsteen catapults from guy from New Jersey with a cult following to megastar. Does not release music for 3 years. The next record, Mike, is Darkness on the Edge of Town.
That it is.
That it is.
Now, before we really dive into it, Cody, I have to know, what can you give me a preamble for this album in terms of your views on it?
If Born to Run is the narrator getting the break, the narrator finally getting that promotion that he's been skipped over 4 or 5 times, this is not the narrator getting the promotion. This is the narrator having to move back in with his parents because the last coal mine in Uniontown shut down. And when the record ends, the door closes, and you know that he's surviving, but he's not thriving. And I love that about this record. Because Bruce Springsteen could have swung entirely into this like everything's gonna be good, successful, hopeful. And it is hopeful. But a lot of this record almost feels like a character study of a small town, of like Gary, Indiana. You know?
I did get that vibe. If it was very much small town vibes when listening to this record.
Mm-hmm.
But
like,
to ask you, those views you just had of the guy not getting the promotion and moving back with his parents, is that from a lyrical standpoint or from an instrumental standpoint or both?
I think it's both.
Okay.
Because you listen to this whole record, right? And it almost, okay, you know, for people who have listened to the podcast, maybe occasionally, I really like Cormac McCarthy. It's a joke between Mike and our friends. I really love Cormac McCarthy. And so anything that has that sense of almost chaotic nihilism, I love. Like, no matter how hard you try, you're stuck in Perryopolis, Pennsylvania. People will drive through this town every single day You cannot leave. You have enough money to move out to Pittsburgh, or you want to go to Morgantown. Your son just broke his leg. And now you've got to put $4,600 into your son.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what I love about this record, because Born to Run is so bright. This record is bright, but it also has, I mean, in a really cheeky way, it does have this sense of darkness to it. It's got this feeling of like, not everything is a movie. Maybe you will just work at Circle K until you die. Sorry.
So what's interesting here is that, like, this sounds terrible, but I love depressing narrative. Like, I love that idea of like the nihilistic viewpoint of like, no matter how hard you try, sometimes it just doesn't work out. And most times it doesn't work out, right? Live as a 20-year-old American, and you'll find that out real quick. That sometimes life just kicks you in the ass and you have no say in the matter, right? I love those kinds of like narratives. But I just didn't get that from this record when I heard it, right? Lyrically, I can't speak to it because I didn't take the time to like dissect the lyrics and really break down what was being said here. All I can speak to is having listened to this thing like 4 times and the instrumental side of it. I didn't get that vibe. On some moments I did, but a lot of other moments I didn't. And I think the first song kind of illustrates that. It's called Badlands. And so that idea of like, I'm in the Badlands or I'm surrounded by a low end place, like, that speaks this idea of like, I'm in an area that I don't want to be in, I can't get out of, etc. But then my response to that is, why is it so upbeat? Why is it so poppy? Why is it so like bright?
It's because you have to try. You have to try. You see Manhattan from Hoboken. You are not in Manhattan. Mm-hmm. Sure, you can go to Manhattan. You can go to Oz. When you come back, that world's going to be gray. And no amount of trying is going to change the color of that world.
Okay.
It's once you get to Oz. And no, for Mike and the listener at home, I don't love that I feel like it ends so bleak. I love that there, in a way, feels like there's almost more effort. Like Badlands almost feels like a sequel in a way to Born to Run, where it's doubling down on your effort. It's doubling down on the fact I have to go forward. I have to work an extra 2 hours. I have to do 2 more side electrical jobs for cash because my wife is going to give birth tomorrow. We're in the hospital. I can't be there right now. I've just found out that, my alternator blew. Great. $200. My wife's in the hospital. Badlands. With that idea of, poor man want to be rich. The rich man wants to be a king. And a king isn't satisfied until he rules everything. I want to go out tonight and I want to find out what I got. And then the chorus, or the pre-chorus is, well, I believe in the love that you gave me. And I believe in the faith that could save me. And I believe in the hope, and I pray that someday I may raise above these Badlands. You have to live it every day. That's cool. And because the music itself is so hopeful, right? Mm-hmm. Just like a conversation with somebody who, is going to school to be like a liberal arts major. Oh, yeah, dude, yeah, you're working at Starbucks. Yeah. Well, yeah, you're absolutely going to do something with your political science major.
Yeah. Yeah, as someone who works at a college and every semester gets students who are trying to accelerate their lives, I totally get it, right? I have to stand there and be like, yeah, this knowledge you gain is important, but half of you are going to graduate and not get a job in the field you just got a degree for. Like, I have to tell them that. I have to be that guy. And so this idea of you talking about, like, you can see Manhattan from Hoboken, like, yes, you can, right? And I do sort of regret that I didn't spend more times with the lyrics of this album because, like, I totally buy that the lyrics on this album are great, right? Just from the 4 listens I gave it, like, even though I wasn't, like, fully immersed in dissecting lyrics, I could tell, like, there's probably some good-ass lyrics on this thing. But what you'll consistently see as we go through this album is that instrumentally for me, like, it's just, there's something that's a divide where, like, on Born to Run, I locked into, like, every instrumental. This album, not so much.
Yeah.
But that's not the case with the second song, dude.
Dude, okay, I just want to say one more thing about Badlands.
Okay.
There's a line that comes during the bridge that it made me, like how you felt about Jungle Land. The first time I heard it, it moved me to tears. It is, for the ones who had a notion, it's a notion deep inside that it ain't no sin to be glad that you're alive. I want to find one face that ain't looking through me. I want to find one place, and I want to spit in the face of these Badlands.
Yeah.
I'm getting out of this Circle K.
Yep.
I'm getting out of the Circle K. But yeah, so this song ends right, and it's like, awesome. We're still on the Springsteen train. It's like up and bright. And then you get this machine, you get this Tommy gun guitar riff.
Gnarly.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Old school, like, kick in the teeth with this band, and they are just locked into this boom, boom, boom bass so fucking loud that it's shaking the foundation of the house. You've got this organ in the background and the drums that they're just doing this, like, Mike, what would you call that? Like a swing almost.
Yeah.
Just as like,
yeah, just like crawling through the mud swing.
And so we get to Adam Raise the Cane.
First of all, great title, dude. Like,
such a killer title.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's crazy because this is almost a similar situation with Meeting Across the River.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, what's this crazy, like, Jay Hawkins subject matter we're getting into about your, what, your dad raising a killer,
yeah,
or whatever, man. But just like this feels almost like Bruce Springsteen's response to "Let It Bleed" by the Rolling Stones, where it's like, okay, you want it dark, we'll make it gritty. Mm-hmm. We'll give you something grimy. I don't have to be the hopeful guy all the time. And his singing style on this song is crazy, because once you get into, like, the pre-chorus is him losing his mind almost, where he doesn't even sing. He's just like screeching. He's like, inside Adam raised a cane. And then all of his background singers, everybody in the bed, Adam raised a cane. And then the guitar solo that comes in, bonkers. A perfect guitar solo for this song, because it's not overly flashy. You can just tell it sounds like someone who is frustrated that they're having to fight for it, Yeah,
this is the kind of music the Hells Angels listen to on their motorcades. Like, this is such biker bar, like, tough dude in leather jacket music, and it's fantastic.
Yep.
This is by far and away my favorite song in this record, because it's the song that the second it started, I like perked up. I was like, what is this? And then the whole way through, it's fantastic. I mean, this is the kind of song that you could see, like, Satan on his throne, just like pondering and like doing that finger tapping thing. Like, dude, it's so good.
Yeah, it's so good. And the best part is they do that big solo, and there's like a dropout, and you're like, oh, cool, the song's over, whatever. Dude, big fake out, right back into the song, but at the same level of intensity. And it's like, that's so cool, man. Because now you got, like, the organ in the background doing just that organ thing, where it's really amplifying the bass notes. But nobody else changes. It's so good. It's so good. And then, so you get from the end of Adam Raised the Cane, absolute heater, into Something in the Night. Now, how you feel about She's the One is how I feel about this song.
How you feel about She's the One is how I feel about this song.
That's crazy. This song is perfect. Oh, Mike, you've got the twinkly piano in the beginning.
You do. The thing I will give this song is that it's a very nice piano intro. It's great.
Man, and then you have Max Weinberg just doing those big tom rolls. And you can't even feel it, you just hear it. It sounds like something is wrong with the recording, but it's just this just this beautiful low rumble. And then when the whole band comes in, dude, it feels like you've never been in love before. I wrote this about this song because it hit me. It hit me in such a visceral place. Every time I hear this song, I am moved. It's like you're holding your high school sweetheart the day before you move away to college, and you know you're going to see each other in 3 months, but what you don't know is that you're going to have a tattoo and a heartbreak that collapses when you run into each other at the gas station that's by your old house.
All right.
That's what this song feels like. This song feels like, oh wow, we broke up over a phone. Oh, we broke up over a text message. You know? And then damn, dude. That hard stop they do in the bridge when he sings that line, he's like, nothing is forgotten. And they do that hard drop, everybody drops, silence. You just hear the reverb of all the instruments stopping, back into it. So good. But right before the band kicks in, there is this, it's a single guitar, and it plays, the only way I can describe it, Mike, is that it plays a Beatles-esque melody. It's like a single chord. And I was like, this is perfect. That's how every song should be. I feel like I'm never going to feel that level of heartbreak again, but I think about that song all the time.
I will give you that it's a decent ballad. Beyond that, I don't know, dude. Like, I'm not saying any of this is bad music. If it came on radio or if it came on my shuffle, I wouldn't skip it. Like, it's not that. But man, does it just not do much for me. I mean, he does that, like, Bruce does that, like, yodeling part. Like, it sounds like a yodel. I'm sure that's not what it is. But, like, it just sounds like yodeling to me. And I'm just like, man, you just
it's
did
like a
Adam
whale
Raised
noise.
a King. Like, and this, yeah. And it's like, I'm not feeling this in the way that I think I should be, in the way that Cody does, right? In the way that I'm like, oh man, this is like Heartbreak Central. I don't feel that way when I hear this song. So I mean, it's fine. It's nothing special to me, at least.
Okay. That's totally fair. You know, I could absolutely understand how this would be a weird song. So then, Mike, how do you feel about Candy's Room?
The exact same way. Which
wow.
is to say, this is an opposite. This is not a ballad, right? Maybe you could argue it's kind of this subject matter here. But for me, at least, this is the kind of thing where it's got the propulsion, it's got the rush, it's faster than Something in the Night. So it's like a sort of differential thing. But at the same time, nobody's wowing me on this record, right? Nobody, at least this song, nobody's wowing me. Nobody's making me jump out of my seat. Everything is fine. Once again, it's fine. But nothing is just making me flip the table and go, this is amazing, this is special, this is wonderful. And I hate to say it, you'll see this track for a lot of the rest of this record is that it's all good, but none of it's really wowing me in any sort of way.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I thought you would really like this song.
I don't hate it. You know, I think it's fine. I think it's good.
I think it's a very bold song.
Okay.
I respect what it does. I think it's cool that when you're listening to it, it feels like Bruce Springsteen is over your shoulder talking to you. The way that he is talking into the microphone, he's like, we're in Candy's room. It's like, what are we? Is this spoken word poetry right now on the boss's record? And I think the story, now, there's a theory that Candy is a sex worker. And so this song is about the brothel that she works in and how the character is in love with Candy. But Candy is very much like, you know, just edging it along, which is fair, you know, just because your business is intimacy doesn't mean you're obligated to have romantic feelings for anybody. But I just really, really like how sold everybody is on the idea. You know, you get that cool drum in the beginning, that kind of rolling on the on like the cymbal or the hi-hat. I think that's fantastic. Now, when the rest of the band comes in, really, really, really cool. Now, I think in a very similar way, this is similar to Backstreet's. in a way. You know, it's a song about love and romance. The only difference is that you're kind of being strung along or being toyed with. And the guitar solo, in my opinion, is absolutely fantastic. Feels like the guitar solo is the narrator admitting to themselves that they know that they're not enough. Like this sense of like, I cannot give you enough of what you need, so you're going to continue this train of selling yourself.
Do you know the band Sonic Youth?
Yeah,
Do you know the song Teenage Riot?
yeah.
Teenage Riot is a better Candy's Room.
Oh,
And it's funny, 'cause obviously Bruce Springsteen came before Sonic Youth, so I mean credit where credit is due. But what's
yeah.
funny is that you put the songs side by side, they're kind of similar in that it speaks. There's a spoken word bit in the opening, and then it gets like fast. I think their subject matter is different, but I think of when I first heard this, I'm like, it sounds like Teenage Riot by Sonic Youth, and for me at least, I think Teenage Riot is the song I'd rather listen to.
That's fair. Now, I will tell you, when I did have these lined up track by track, this was one of the two times that Born to Run edged it out. So this was this was Backstreet's. Yeah. So
only two times.
Yep,
bro. I gotta tell you.
I think two times.
So I didn't do a track by track, but just looking at it in my notes, I see that 10th Avenue goes against Adam Raised a Cain. That one's tough. I would think about that one for a while. Every other matchup, no, dude. Born to Run sweeps this motherfucker. Sweeps it, Cody.
Wild.
This would be
Wild
if we actually did a track by track, this would be the most lopsided track by track we've ever done for me. It'd be like 7-1 or maybe 8-1. Easy.
Okay.
Easy, Cody.
All right. So then here's the really funny part. The same thing happens on the next one as well, which is Racing in the Street. Because you have Racing in the Street, which is a fantastic song about owning a Chevy with a 397 and racing cars on the sunset, on the strip whenever it's like late at night in your hometown, against Born to Run. A song that is, in my opinion, we've now discussed, the definitive placeholder for the American experience, besides Jungle Land. So, good song. Feels like Jackson Browne. Fucking love Jackson Browne, dude. So good. There's a line, though, that I really, there's actually a section that I really, really liked. Because, like I was telling you, all of this record, right, feels like a character or a character study of people who just can't get out of it. Like I was telling you, right? All right. I met her on the strip 3 years ago in a Camaro with this dude from LA. I blew that Camaro off my back and drove that little girl away. But now there's wrinkles around my baby's eyes, and she cries herself to sleep at night. When I come home, the house is dark. And she sighs, baby, did you make it all right? That hits. Because it's like, yo, we've all met somebody at one point or another where you look at them and you go, I would follow you to South Dakota right now. I am just... You are enormous to me. You're effervescent, you know? And then 6 months later, you're like, oh, she eats a lot of cabbage. I hate cabbage. You know, it's like one of those things where it's like the grandeur of the explosion of romance doesn't retain.
It sours.
Yeah.
I will say, this was a song where the lyrics did stand out. Even on just first initial listens, I was like, man, these lyrics are kind of hitting. Like, as opposed to some of these other songs where the lyrics didn't quite connect. This one definitely did. But I have similar sentiments to Candy's Room and Something in the Night, where like nothing on this song is wowing me. Like going like, man, that was crazy. That sax performance, even though, you know, I'm just putting examples. That guitar performance was crazy. That drum performance was crazy. That sax moment was crazy. Like none of that's happening for me, at least. So in a similar sentiment, I'm like, the last three songs, they're good. I'm not saying this is bad music and by any stretch of the imagination. But what I'm also saying is that when you compare it to Born to Run, for me, it's not even close. And what's funny, Cody, is I'm going to call you out. You just said that Born to Run and Jungle Land are like hitting the quintessential American experience.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing that with Darkness on the Edge of Town. I'm not hearing you going, well, Badlands is the quintessential American experience. You said Born to Run and Jungle Land.
Right. Okay. Because it's the next one.
So Promised Land is the
Promised Land. This is the start of Bruce Springsteen, in my opinion, sticking a flagpole in the ground, Columbus style, going, this is America. And then proceeding to cuss. I don't know if Bruce Springsteen cuss, so I'm not gonna. I'll be like, say the F word. Dude, this, in my opinion, the Woody Guthrie song "This Land Is My Land" should be removed from all education. This should be the new version of "This Land Is My Land."
You're gonna have 5-year-olds singing "Promised Land,"
brother. It's a perfect song. It's a perfect song, right? Okay, you want to talk about the archetypal Bruce Springsteen. You got melancholic guitars. Mm-hmm. You got a hopeful yet downtrodden message. Mm-hmm. You have somebody planting their foot and saying, I believe in the promised land. That's awesome. Yes, good for you. All you do, Craig, is run a backhoe for your uncle's construction company. Damn right you believe in the promised land. Hell yeah. You don't watch the news? Good. I don't blame you. I don't fucking watch the news either, You believe in the promised land. I love that about this song because it feels like, once again, going back to the character study idea, it feels like somebody who is almost like delusional. If you look at the lyrics, it's almost like somebody who just can't get, like, you're not getting anything better than Walmart in your town,
Mm-hmm.
Like Wegmans isn't coming to town, dude. You're going to have to move if you want something better. And I just love that it almost feels like somebody like who's lived in Conway their whole life. You want to talk about like a local understanding, like someone who lives in Conway. Well, why would I move out of Conway, dude? It's nice. We had Eugenia's. They closed. I mean, whatever. Good for them. We got Big Lots. Okay. We got C3 coffee shop. And it's like, hey, I get that, man. I knew a kid who this song describes perfectly. His name was Ethan. Ethan had never left the city limits of Conway.
Wow.
And when I asked him about going to see the world, not even just the rest of the state, he said to me, well, why would I want to? That's what this song is. I don't blame him. So how do you feel about Promised Land?
Well, removed from the lyrics, because once again, I didn't do deep dives on any of these songs. And, the sentiment, at least to me, Cody, is that what really carries this song is the lyrical nature of it. Right? You're telling 5-year-olds to go sing this song, probably because the lyrics are really good. And I don't take that away from this song. I'm sure the lyrics are very good. Let's push the instrumental back in for a second. This is good. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not great. It's not anything that's making me flip my chair and go crazy. If it came on the radio, I would not skip it, right? I'd be like, oh shit, Bruce Springsteen. I'd probably turn it up a little bit, be like, yeah, great. But, if Born to Run came on the radio, I'd be like, oh shit, Springsteen. And I'd crank that up, right? This is not a crank it up song. Okay. Which maybe I'm coming at Bruce Springsteen with the wrong angle here. Maybe that's not what this is supposed to be. And if that's the case, that's fine. But once again, we're comparing two records here. And just from the sentiments of what Born to Run is doing compared to Darkness, this record's not doing it for me like Born to Run did it for me. And so for that, it's another song where it's like, it's good. I will say the guitar solo, the sax solo, the harmonica solo, that like 1, 2, 3, that's great. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. I love that they're all getting their moments. But that's just a section of the song, right? Everything else about the song is like, it's good. It's fine. It's totally passable.
I see your positioning. And I respect
it. And it's funny because it carries over into the next song, which from a Springsteen angle is perhaps like the most blue-collar distilled song I've ever heard.
So
go ahead.
This is really funny. I hate this fucking song, dude.
I'm not a fan of it either.
It feels like, and every time I hear Factory, it makes me feel like I'm in Soviet Russia. It makes me feel like I'm in like a police state where the only thing I can do is work in a factory.
Yeah.
And the song is about a man who's like, Dad went to work every day. He went into work happy, came home, downtrodden and depressed. But so life then puts the son working in that factory. But the instrumental is so positive that it's like, what are you trying to tell me, Bruce Springsteen? Like, I should be happy that I get to make rifle shells. I get to make rifle cartridges. Like, what are you trying to tell me here? And it just, every time I hear the song, it kind of puts a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. This is the one song on this record that I feel like they should have cut.
And what's interesting is that it's very short. It's not long at all. I think it's under 3 minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
It's like 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's just
a very short song.
this short little blue collar diddly, right? But the thing is, we have Working Man by Rush at home, right? We don't need if I want a factory song, like I work 9 to 5 factory Monday through Friday, bro, I'm turning on Working Man by Rush, because that song gives me that feeling of like, yeah, I work 9 to 5, I come home at night, crack open a beer, nothing to do around here except I'm a working man, right? That sentiment, right? I listen to this song, I'm like, okay, same sentiment, but not nearly as effective.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I feel like the one big issue with this song in particular, if they would have just fleshed out the idea, it would have been absolutely fine. But it feels like almost like a something that you were just complacent with. Like, oh yeah, we wrote a song. That's cool.
Yeah.
So this is the one down step on Darkness on the Edge of Town. Because then, man, dude, you get to Street of Fire. You get to Streets of Fire. That's a crazy good song.
That chorus is bang.
Crazy.
Where you have to call the response of like the from the piano. That's real good. I will admit that is fantastic.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I feel like this is the first time on the record he's actually singing.
Mm-hmm.
The whole rest of the time he's doing that gravelly Springsteen voice, this like gruff voice. This is the one time you hear him clear his throat in actual notes leave his mouth. And it's like, the first time I heard it, I was like, who's the background singer on this song? And I was like, oh, it's only Bruce Springsteen. He's just not singing like this. I was like, what? It's crazy. But man, it just makes up for Factory. This feels like if they took Factory and they wrote it in 6 minutes. They said, do a Americana jam, and I'll sing something over it. This feels like, all right, boys, we're back in the passion zone. Guitar solo passionate, band's playing passionate. Things feel louder.
Yeah,
more lively.
This is another one of my favorites on the record, just because all the performances are so passionate, right?
Yeah.
The organ / piano thing, right? Bruce himself, there's a great guitar solo in there. Like, all of them are really showing their efforts on this one. So I like the song a lot. This is a moment where the record ticks up for me. Yeah,
I wrote this song as like the auditory version of Ecstasy. Just everything feels so like passionate. Maybe not in like an erotic way, but just in the sense of like, if you took like a tab of Ecstasy and then you looked at like a Van Gogh painting, you would probably be like, wow,
yeah,
that's so many dandelions. That's great. What this song feels like. So now, dear listener at home, is there anything else you want to say about
Nope.
Street of Fire? Okay. So now, dear listener, this is where Born to Run ends. So this would have been up against Jungle Land, which, don't get me wrong, dude, Street of Fire, unbelievable song. Brother, it's not Jungle Land.
Street of Fire didn't make me emotional and tear up. It's good. But.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, too, going back to the historical side of this, you're now a mega star, dude. Your record label isn't holding a gun to your head saying, write me a hit. They're going, okay, you sold 9 million copies of Born to Run. You can, go ahead, do your thing. And I think that's why this record is so bleak in a way, because I feel like Born to Run is so hopeful. This is almost the response of like, okay, yeah, now the big man tried to keep me down. And this is 10 songs or 11 songs about that. Because then, dude, you get to Prove It All Night. Mike.
Go first.
Dude. So this feels very similar to Badlands. But this is like a perfect love song. Prove It in the Night is such a damn good song. because you can tell it is about this man works on the railroad, right, Mike? For the listener at home, Mike is sitting 6 feet away from his microphone. You can tell this man works on the railroad.
I'm just letting you do your thing, Cody. I'm waiting for you to finish.
Yo, he's about to cook. I can already tell. So he's working on the railroad, and his girlfriend is in like Jackson, Mississippi, or whatever. And this entire song is just about being in love with this woman. It is just about getting home to your girlfriend after a month out in the oil field and being like, I just made $17,000. Let's go get married right now. So hopeful, so bright, so positive. Fucking the guitar solo that comes in the middle of this song lit me up, dude. Moved by this guitar solo. And then the line, it's weird to hear Bruce Springsteen get a little spicy, you know? The line, baby, tie your hair back in a long white bow. Meet me in the fields out behind the dynamo. You hear their voices telling you not to go. They've made their choices and they'll never know what it means to steal, to cheat, to lie, what it's like to live and die. And it's like, hell yeah, dude. If you're in love with a woman and she's waiting for you for a month to get back from the railroad, absolutely. You know what that feeling is. Love this song, man. Love this song, dude.
I'll literally read my notes verbatim.
Here we go.
Another good radio song. Sax solo as usual is good. That's it. Because, like, yeah, to me, it is a good radio song. This is not a song where it comes on the radio, I'm skipping it. But, man, does it just not do anything for me. And, I mean, yeah, the sax solo, you know, I like that there's even a sax solo to begin with. And it happens to be good because the guy in Bruce's band that plays the sax just happens to be really good at it. So, like, it's 2 + 2 = 4. But by that same token, it's like, it just doesn't move me in any significant way. And so for me, like, regrettably, I guess, I just really didn't put much for this song. So it's funny to hear you like have such an attachment to it.
Mike, I feel like we have to revisit this episode in 2 years. This is gonna be the one revisit we do because I need you to read these lyrics. Because visiting both of these records from a lyrical standpoint, Darkness on the Edge of Town is so much more. It's just got this like essence to it of like that's where I think you're missing out on this record.
And I could totally believe that. Like I said earlier, just hearing that you say like the lyrics are amazing. The lyrics are like I just getting that vibe from listening to this, not doing the dissection. I can tell these lyrics are great. I can't tell you what they are verbatim, right? Like you can, but I know these lyrics are good. So you're right in that I probably should revisit this from a lyrical standpoint. But I'm just focusing on the instrumentals because that's what really sticks out to you when you hear a record without dissecting its lyrical content. And for me, instrumentally, this album's just not nearly in the same ballpark as Born to Run.
That's fair. Okay. So then here's the one where I think we're either going to exchange some real harsh words or we're going to be friends again, Mike. How do you feel about the title track, the last song on Darkness of the Edge of Town, which is Darkness on the Edge of Town?
Do you want me to read my notes again verbatim?
Oh, man, Mike, I've never said this. I want you to know, I mean, it's from a purely friend standpoint. Whatever you say, this is going to make me want to kick your ass, dude. I know. I already can tell. I'm like Eden.
This is going to piss you off royally. This might be the last episode ever because you're going to get so mad. Fine song with solid performances, but by this point, I'm over it.
Mike.
And that's all I have to say about Darkness on the Edge of Town.
No.
Yeah.
No. Mike.
Sorry, that's just...
You are crazy. Absolutely insane,
all right,
dude.
Give me your dissertation on why this song is everything.
Okay, Mike, every single song before this has been a in-depth character study of a person. You have Candy's Room. You have, hold on. One moment. You have Prove It All Night, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. You've got You got Factory, which sure isn't a fantastic song, but it's still a character study of somebody, right? Darkness on the Edge of Town is the pan out. It is the view of the city like you have just entered a Sims lobby. And you can see everybody. And you can see all of their collective struggle. Right? The instrumental feels matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
Is it as bombastic and explosive as Jungle Land or Born to Run? No. Because that's not the point. The point of the song Darkness on the Edge of Town is the grand look out at everybody's struggle. And it's the zoom in to the person who is at the Circle K. And the narrator goes, they never left the Circle K. They never got out of that town. They got someone pregnant, or they got pregnant. 40 years went by, and then they got killed in a drunk driving accident. That's what this song is so beautifully, it does so well. Is it almost the opposite, right, of Jungle Land? We made it. We're doing it. Hey, guys, we collected the rent payment. Guys, it turns out that my wife didn't have the miscarriage. Everything's good. This is, hey, Mom, I'm getting evicted. I have to move in for a month. You know?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love about this song is the hopefulness has been there the whole record. Sure, it's not been as hopeful as Born to Run, but then you get this sad realism that not everybody is born to run. Not everybody is going to make it out of their hometown. I wrote this about the song because every single time I hear this song, I get a sense of whimsy about my hometown. I grew up in Uniontown, Pennsylvania for 18 years. I lived there for 18 years. There's always felt like there was a weird aura to that place, like a dark cloud. And that place never felt warm until I left. This song is the auditory feeling of driving into Uniontown. And I know it's coming, and I always go through Periopolis, and I always pass the Sheets that is on the left-hand side as my way into town. And you go home, just like you, Mike, if you go back to outer Cincinnati, right? Mm-hmm. And you'll probably run into somebody at Target. Probably run into somebody who manages a Skechers. Or even worse, a Payless Shoes, right?
I know.
And you talk.
I know dozens of people from high school who still live. Taylor Mill is the place outside of Cincinnati that I lived. I know at least 40 people who are still there.
This is that. They did not have the moxie to move. And life never panned out for them too. Hell, maybe they were getting ready to move and they got a DUI, Mm-hmm. And then things just rack up and bing, bang, boom, dude. It's the small town curse. You're stuck at home for 30 years. You marry somebody who was a sophomore in high school when you were a senior. That's what I love about this song. That's what I love about this record. If Born to Run is blatant hopefulness, this is the veil coming up and going, not everybody's going to make it. And that's why these two records work so well together. Because if you listen to them, you've got, man, you just this fucking young man push, right? When you're 21 and you can stay up all night drinking Mountain Dew on double XP Call of Duty, somehow being able to use the Xbox controller and Tinder in your other hand, right? Darkness on the Edge of Town is 5 years after that. Probably pulled your back out, probably have a 401k, probably have dated someone who's cheated on you. But those things don't affect current. They just carry. That's what I love about this record.
Okay. I'm sure and I've said this multiple times at this point, I'm sure if I literally sat down and just got all these songs on Darkness at the Edge of Town and just looked at the lyrics and read it like a book, right? Read it just like a short story collection. I'm sure lyrically I would agree with you because I'm all about those narratives of like hopeful at first and then it just doesn't work out. Like my favorite novel ever is Salem's Lot by Stephen King. That's literally that story, right? It's got vampires in it and it runs that narrative, but it's what it's really about is a group of small town people who just can't get out of their small town, right? So I'm for that. But was that your anecdote for, Born to Run versus Darkness on the Edge of Town?
Oh, but there's no, for the records, yes.
Okay, well, let me just say,
Yes.
my anecdote, I think I can distill how I feel about these two records pretty simply, is that I listened to both these records, again, like 3 or 4 times each. I, very shortly thereafter, went to Amazon, Target website, Walmart website. Does anybody have Born to Run on vinyl? And I found a used copy for $13, Cody.
That's a good deal.
I snap bought that thing, right? Give me that thing. I spent 0.0 seconds looking for Darkness on the Edge of Town on vinyl. I have zero interest in getting that record on vinyl.
That's crazy. So, to be honest, the rest of the world felt very similar to you. Darkness on the Edge of Town did not perform nearly as high as Born to Run. But I think that's because it's got that level of bleakness to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if Born to Run is sitting by the pool on a nice summer day, Darkness on the Edge of Town is getting in your car after you're in the pool and you accidentally burn your hand on the steering wheel. They're both a part of the same experience. One is just the sad reality for some.
Yeah. From my perspective as non-Bruce Springsteen person and as person who is not as familiar with these records, I do want, again, just to make it abundantly clear, even though I pissed Cody off with that final view on the last song, I don't think Darkness on the Edge of Town is a bad record. I don't hate it. There's nothing on the record that's making me pull my hair out and go, well, Factory is, but I don't hate that song. It's just like it's a dull moment. A lot of the record is good. It's got its great moments. And I'm sure lyrically it's fantastic. I have no doubt about that at all. But for me, just as a non-Springsteen fan, as somebody who approached these things for the first time in the last month, to me, just Born to Run was so astronomically higher. And like I said, show me the song that's better than Jungle Land, because I want to hear it. If there's a song that Bruce Springsteen did that's better than Jungle Land, give it to me now, because I'm sure I will adore it. I just don't think it's there. But again, I'm not a huge fan of this guy, so I don't know fully. But it's one of those things where I'm hard pressed to even believe and consider and think of it as a possibility that there's anything he did better than Jungle Land.
That's fair. So what happens after this? It's really crazy. He stops working with the E Street Band. So everybody in his band, he just fires in a way. Then goes to Nebraska. Really, really crazy story. Has a meltdown, a pure actual mental crisis. Goes to Nebraska, records a record called Nebraska in a cabin alone. And then comes back, does Born in the USA. And then a couple years later, reconnects with the E Street Band because they were everybody was that's kind of messed up, dude, that, a lot of the songs on these two records are band centric and you just kick those dudes out. But no, in a way, Mike, I absolutely do agree with you. I think that for most people, they would view Born to Run as the better record. It's shorter. It feels more concise. The themes are absolutely more hopeful. And I don't think a lot of people, want to sit and listen to a song about a man who falls in love with a prostitute, but just cannot accept that she doesn't want to be with him and things like that. But just for myself, I think that Darkness on the Edge of Town, from an entire band standpoint, especially lyrically, is the better work. Now, I will admit, hearing your positioning on Born to Run has made me reconsider. I think that they're equal in my head now.
Okay.
But they have to be a story together.
Yeah.
It has to be, it's at part 1 and it part 2. Or it's, Dark Tower part 1 and 2. Okay, yeah, well, oh, this is super cool. Oh, great, shit, now half the people were dead. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
what I will say in favor of this whole exercise, which is something I enjoy sometimes, is that when I'm unfamiliar with an artist, in listening to these two records, I'm very inclined to go listen to the rest of his work, right? I want to hear Nebraska. I want to hear the entirety of Born in the USA, because I know, of course, Born in the USA, the song, right? I want to hear that whole record now. So however I feel about both these records, I think the real success here is that I'm inclined to listen to the rest of his stuff.
Yeah, I absolutely recommend. He gets weird in the middle. After Born in the USA, he gets a little weird. Really, there's like 4 Springsteen records that I recommend. There's Born to Run, right? You got Darkness on the Edge of Town. You have Born in the USA. And then the last one is The Rising. Now, The Rising is really, really interesting because he didn't write music for 6 or 7 years, and then 9/11 happens. And so then out of nowhere, America's like, oh, we need a hero. And Bruce Springsteen just out of nowhere polishes off this record. And it's unbelievable. It's exactly what you would expect. It's like, sad to say, it's like that tragedy happening kind of brought him back to being to being a 26-year-old. Like, oh yeah, we need this. I'm not being asked to do this. I'm almost like obligated to do something. And then from there, he's had a couple of other records that are okay. But in terms of, I want to say absolute, just sheer artistic vision, that's his Mount Rushmore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good to know. Cody, any final thoughts?
If you're listening at home, please listen to these 2 records. Like I said before, and like I said a couple times through the episode, Bruce Springsteen is somebody who, now is almost comically viewed as a working man's pariah, right? He's someone who fights for the struggles of the working man, but also sells out 5 nights at, Madison Square Garden, or he'll do 4 days at PNC Arena and things like that. But he had to get there from being somewhere. And so once you get to Born to Run, it's like Mike said, it's the pure distillation of hope. It's the pure distillation of having drive and passion. And in a similar way, but very different musically, it's almost the same thing as The Chariot. I'm going to make this. So we're going to make this. And if it fails, it fails. But damn it, we did it instead of wondered. I love that. There's Mike, before I let you do a closing thought, there is a wonderful quote by Page 99. Well, it's actually Kurt Cobain. Let me see. Just want to find it real quick. So there's this wonderful quote that's the opening to the Document 8 record by Page 99, which is a screamo band. Very, very abrasive. Mike, it's heavier than The Chariot. It's almost like a dentist drill into a microphone. It's incredible. Punk rock, so in this case, just simply music. Music should mean freedom. Liking and accepting anything that you like, playing whatever you want, as sloppy as you want, as long as it's good and it has passion. And time again on this podcast, we have showcased moments of sheer passion and will that have become legendary pieces of art. Not music, but art. 2112. Dark Side of the Moon. The Chariot, Born to Run. Raining Blood. Those were things that were pulled out of the atmosphere and created into art. So, if this is a lesson for anything, when you feel down on your luck, that's when you have to double down and go, I'm making what I'm going to make. Because somebody will love it.
Can't say it any better than that, Cody. As far as my final thoughts are concerned, I agree with the sentiments. Listen to Bruce Springsteen. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Always be you. And hopefully you're more of a Born to Run lifestyle than Darkness on the Edge of Town, even though it happens, right? Hopefully your life is born to run.
For clarity, don't be stuck working at a Circle K for 30 years.
Yep.
Darkness on the Edge of Town is more of a cautionary tale.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Take care.